Good evening, good evening, good evening. Who gets it right the second time around, or at least that's what we tell the missus. It's us, First and I podcast, our American Scouser TV, ASTV for cool kids. Getting to the end of the line, as the travelling Wilburys once said. One more game to go in the league, and then some sort of nonsense European and World Cups that we don't care about because we're not in them. We're joined as always by the other three handsome baldies, Brian, Cosy, and Suzie. How are we, gentlemen?
You're good.
Wonderful. That's good. That is good. So here's what we'll talk about tonight. We'll talk about the trophies, Crystal Palace, Spurs last night. Fantastic stuff. And a joy to watch United crumble as we expected them to, probably. We'll talk about United and how badly that has to be the worst United team in a century. Except for the relegation team. We'll have our room 4-3-3, and then for some reason we're playing a game on the weekend, and we'll talk about that. But we can just talk about Liverpool, and we can talk about the possibility of Cosy exploding when Kerkez signs within the next week or two, or whatever happens to be when that stupid transfer window thingy opens up. But Frimpong, Kerkez, I don't think we could be unhappy with that, could we, lads?
Mm-hmm. It's a nice start.
It would be a nice start. It would be a nice start. But let us talk about Palace beating City on the weekend and Spurs beating United yesterday in the most un-Ange Postecoglou way possible, which I loved. I loved that immensely. That was like the 2001 UEFA Cup final when everybody was saying it was going to be a dull, defensive, nil-all, drab penalties game from the two most defensive teams in Europe. It was one of the most exciting finals of all time. Thankfully, Liverpool won it, so we can laugh about it now. But let's start with Palace. Brian, apparently, Glasner told Pep Guardiola the last time Crystal Palace played City that if Pep Guardiola set up the exact same way as he did in the FA Cup final, he would beat him. And he did. It was a marvellous prediction. You have to be happy for the Palace fans. We're playing this weekend, but you have to be happy for them winning their first major trophy ever. I know they've won a few divisional things from the lower divisions, but possibly the Watney Barrel Cup as well in 1972 or somewhere like that. But a great day out for the Palace fans. But nevertheless, City trophyless this season, apparently, except for the Community Shield. I don't know what that's all about. It's a very Everton thing to do. But Pep Guardiola is already complaining about. He was complaining at the end of the game immensely, and now he wants a smaller squad, or else he's gonna quit. Talk us through that. Crystal Palace, first of all, they set up really well for that City team, didn't they?
I mean, Dean Henderson was amazing. I mean, that's all I can say right there. I mean, some of his keeping was spectacular. I talked to one of my coworkers who's a United supporter. This has been a pretty dismal week for him, and he was just talking about why did we go in there and sell Dean Henderson and sign Onana, and then you saw what Onana did, but we'll get to that later. But yeah, I mean, they're defensively. I mean, Palace played out their mind defensively. I mean, they took opportunity in that first opening minutes, got the goal that they needed, and they just subbed back and just absorbed. I mean, and really, there were some couple of chances that Palace had to even go ahead right there with it, but it didn't seem like that. It seemed like that side was just trying to shoot outside the box almost every time they turned around on the City side. So it didn't really look like it was it's a great demise of City watching that match, big ups right there to Palace right there. I mean, I think that they played out their mind, and Kazi's favorite player right there was just immense in that match. I mean, it's another one between him and Dean Henderson right there, who were just who basically took that game by the grass and neck and played a fantastic match.
Cosy, what did you think? I think you've mentioned the Crystal Palace front line a few times this season. They can be very, very dangerous when they're on form. But watching that FA Cup final, they did what you sometimes don't expect those kinds of players to do. They dug in, didn't they? They rolled their sleeves up and said, right, we're a goal ahead. We have to do the defensive work this week. We have to make sure we win this game. and yet still had the pace to get forward, which is what makes players like those dangerous. But that was a proper team performance, wasn't it? That was an old school Catenaccio almost if you're into Inter Milan.
I mean, yes, definitely. It's just nice to see, though, isn't it? It really is nice to see. It could have been anyone. It might not have been Palace, it could have been Norwich or whatever. It's just nice to see teams get their moment in the spotlight. First of all, it completely dispels the myth that it's a weak league because the team with 12 just beat one of the best teams of the last 10. Let's be frank here. I've had an off season this season. It's one of the best teams in the last 5 years in football history. Let's not cloud over the judgment here. Well, however they got there and if they cheated or not, that's by the by. That team is set up to be unbelievable. Now, it's just so wonderful to see. Everyone had to do their job for them to win the game. They're clinical. It's just clinical. And you ride your luck now and in the game. Henderson should have been sent off, in my opinion. But you ride your luck. You know, that's not your fault. I was actually watching the game, gents, and when the final whistle went, I was actually getting a bit emotional myself. I was like, fucking, 120 years your club's existed for, and it's your first trophy. Like, how spoiled are we? You're getting people complaining that we didn't do the quadruple this year because we only won the league. And you're getting teams like that who have just won the FA Cup, and to them, that's everything. When you see guys who are 70 years of age and in the 80s and stuff crying in the crowd, I was just kind of overcome with it. I was like, wow, like this is like a real. I knew it was going to be special anyway for them. I get that, but I put it onto a different level for me. So again, dispels the myth that the league's weak. Team with 12 just won the FA Cup. And again, the two teams who were in the Europa League final were 16th and 17th in the league. So it's wonderful to see. It's amazing. And yeah, it is a nice year for the Cups. Newcastle winning. I know it was at the expense of Liverpool, and I'm very, I suppose. And I'm very, against that, of course. But still, it is a nice year that it gives teams in the league hope that they can do it. That Palace can win it and Newcastle can win one, Spurs can win one. That should give you hope if you're like an Everton or a Brentford or a Brighton to go, hey, why can't we go and win one then? And that's what should give them hope as well. And when those teams do get hope, it makes the league completely competitive and it makes everyone better again.
That game really was. It's something that and I'm not trying to ostracize our American resident here, but it's trying to get through to American soccer fans the magic of the FA Cup is very difficult when the finalists and the winners are Man United, Man City, Liverpool, Chelsea. So when Newcastle win the League Cup and then when Crystal Palace win the FA Cup, that's what we're talking about, isn't it? Like that's not something that, or correct me if I'm wrong, I'm really hopeless at this stuff, but that's not something that happens in maybe in American sports. Like the power teams aren't the power teams for a reason. But the FA Cup, it's one and done. If you don't get to a replay when they have replays, you're done. You're out, and there's no let's seed this team and let's make sure this team gets to the semi-finals because it's entertaining. It's just this is what it's about. That team, Crystal Palace, could easily be Coventry City. It could easily be Wrexham next year. That's the whole thing about the FA Cup, isn't it? It gives it a chance to dream.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of the English game and maybe some of the European games. This is where the MLS and Saudi League will never ever be able to compete with us. The FA Cup, and I know at the beginning of the season we were looking at the FA Cup, has it got its magic, has it lost its magic? And I think for a while it did. Man United kind of helped that along the way when they refused to play because they were playing the World Cup. But then we saw Plymouth Argyle bring some of that magic back, at our expense. And even this season, you see Newcastle and Crystal Palace win, and for the neutral, maybe Brian, who wasn't there to watch the grandstands and the ITV coverage and everything else. Any neutral watching this game will actually remember the fans' emotions rather than the players on the pitch. And that's what the FA Cup is about. And even for me, you know, I've taken so much for granted and forgot about the FA Cup itself. But when you see fans crying and the emotions, you know, for City, Liverpool, you know, Arsenal, to an extent, Man United, you know, we just take these for granted. But for teams like Newcastle, like haven't won a trophy in 70 odd years, Crystal Palace never won a trophy. And these are big trophies. It's not the Zenith Data Systems Cup. These are big trophies. You know, they've got into Europe, and just to see the emotion behind the fans, you know, in the fans' faces, and again, you know, it's like reminiscent again at Liverpool's expense when Wimbledon beat us, you know, and that game was really similar. It's, you know, the David versus Goliath kind of thing, and you know, the fact that they even got to the final, and you know, and deservedly, they won the game deservedly. It wasn't a snatch and grab, and whatever. You know, Crystal Palace, they put themselves on the map. Glasner put himself on the map, and they beat supposedly the best team in the world. You know, obviously we'll forget this current season's form, but on paper, you know, they've had the best coach in the world. Got the likes of Haaland and KDB and Marmoush and, you know, Bernardo Silva. They, you know, these are serial winners, and it's like, you know, on paper, no one's gonna see their form this season, or, you know, how they played in that game. All they're gonna see is the result. It was a shock result, maybe shock to many. I think some people really called it the way City played this season, but it was great. You know, it was a good Saturday afternoon for the neutral, and the Palace fans that, you know, you can just see in their faces the magic of the FA Cup. And, you know, anyone that doubts the magic of English domestic cups, you just need to see the supporters' emotions behind that. And it was great to see. And even last night when, you know, Spurs beating Man United, and, you know, it's and that's what football's about. Sometimes we get lost in what we haven't achieved, like Liverpool fans, is because we've been spoiled, and, you know, we didn't get the quad or we didn't get the double. But just to see the emotions of fans that haven't won anything, and, you know, who knows when, you know, next time they'll win anything. And that's what football's about at the end of the day.
Brian, He's talking about the fans there, but I think for me, one of the most enduring images was, you know, for, let's say, as a contrast, Liverpool fans waiting for that final 3 points to get over the line to win the league. And we were, like, you know, all up for it, and kind of in semi-party mood. But injury time, the Crystal Palace fans, this was the picture that I remember. They just didn't want to look, because they didn't want to believe that it could be snatched away from them, because if there's any club that they could have faced in the FA Cup final that could snatch you know, this dream away from them, it would be City, and you would have expected them to do it. But that's how much it means. And it's almost a traumatic experience to see a team win its first trophy. You don't want to believe that it could become real with 30 seconds to go, but it did. And that's the thing, isn't it? In a world that's politically divided, that we're just getting bad news of wars and conflicts and diseases and budgets and all that kind of stuff. This is why we follow sports and follow our teams, isn't it? Because they can give us. Those Crystal Palace fans are going to be buzzing for a year now. They can't wait for next season to start. They probably don't care what happens on Sunday against us. We don't care either, as far as this could be the best match of the season by the looks of things. But that's what it means, though, isn't it? It's we invest so much emotion into it, and for supporters like us, we get lucky because every few years, you know, within every 3 years, we compete for a trophy on average. But for clubs like Crystal Palace, survival is the name of the game. So to actually come out as the winners, that's such an immense thing for the fans, isn't it?
It really is, and I think that kind of goes with the whole story of like with many American fans right there who basically want to see the underdog win in tournaments, and want to see underdogs. I mean, for a prime example, right there, the obsession in the United States with the NCAA basketball tournament right there. Everybody goes and roots for these number 16 seeds and these and 15 seeds right there to go and take out number 1 and number 2 seeds. These are things that American fans don't get used to, because there are no underdogs in American sports. I mean, if you go look through the whole thing, you don't see the underdog team win there. You don't have a Leicester City winning the league. You don't have a Crystal Palace winning the FA Cup. You don't have that kind of stuff like that because it's so predictable about this team right here spent this amount of money right there to get to this point right there, and that's where they're at. And I mean, that's just American sports in a big nutshell. I mean, with it, I mean, if you look through there, you can see, for instance, right there. I mean, I guess the closest thing you have this year is to see the New York Knicks where they're at right now, and that's about it. I mean, other than that, right there, it's the same stuff right there. It's many years growing up and seeing the Chicago Bulls come up there and go through. Seeing the Lakers go through, seeing these things are there, and it's like it's just the teams that spend the most money, the teams that succeed right there, and that's usually what happens. So to see that happen right there was pretty amazing. To actually watch Rebecca Lowe afterwards right there, I mean, and they talked to her. She said it was like her third, but that if them winning would be the third greatest moment of her life. I mean, besides getting married and having her children. I mean. Those are pretty top things right there. I mean, to think about it. And these are things like that American fans don't really get because again, like I said, there is no underdog winning anything in American sports.
I think probably to put it in context is that her worst moment in her life is having to talk to the two Robbies after every game on NBC.
Even worse when Gary Neville flies over.
Yeah.
I think there's a part though, Matt, when you mention about the underdog story and stuff like that. And it's so rare, and it is because that team will probably get broken up in 12 months.
Yeah.
It's football, isn't it? And it's just what it is. And Liverpool hopefully taking Adam Wharton, and I think Gay's got 12 months left on his deal. You know what I mean? And then you probably got an Eze, who you can probably maybe see an Arsenal going for, someone like that. Then before you know it, then the team's broken up, and the manager, of course, could get linked with every single. If Spurs sack hands tomorrow, he's probably top of the list, isn't he? Do you know what I mean? So it just is what it is, unfortunately, and that's the shame about it. So when these moments come along, it's a bit like if Newcastle now they sell Isaac or whatever that happens. Do you know what I mean? That their team could get broken up, and they've got the money to rebuild again, of course, because that's the finances that they have. But it would be a shame, but that's why it's so rare. You know what I mean? I can't really, think about a season like this where it's been, like a lot of underdogs for the cups at least. I'm not going to say Liverpool an underdog, far from it. But the other three teams are really big underdogs in the tournaments, and it's just great to see, man. It really is. It gives you kind of hope. Again, you want these other teams to go for it. Do you know what I mean? It's like when I can't remember who did this. Someone, I think it was Brentford, within the quarters of the League Cup, showed up to Newcastle. And I made 7 changes. I'm like, lads, you're in the quarters. Like, do you know what I mean? You're there. You may as well go and put your strongest 11 out and have a go at it. Remember that was this season. They played Newcastle played Brentford. And it's like, don't give up hope for the fans. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's everything. And by the way, these teams who are all competing for Europe, hey, go and win 6 games, win the League Cup, and then you're in Europe anyway. It's 6 games to win the League Cup. May as well try and win it, aren't you?
It's an interesting thing that you say, because on Tuesday night in the EPL panel show, talking with Glenn, the Brentford fan, that's one of the questions I put to him. Like, Crystal Palace winning the FA Cup, it's kind of a message to teams like Brentford and teams like Brighton, isn't it? That, your league position is important. Business-wise, you don't want to be getting into that yo-yo situation as a club, but to win a trophy really should be what it's all about, shouldn't it? And as they say, 6 games to win the League Cup is it's a feather in the cap.
It's not just a message to the clubs; it's a message to the fans.
Yeah,
the fans aren't going to accept you going out there making any changes anymore. The fans aren't going to accept it, especially like again a team like Brentford and Everton. In my opinion, Everton will never go down. Like those type of teams are going to look and go, "We're not going to let you show up and just." For example, this season, gents, Everton lost at home in the League Cup in the 3rd round to Southampton. That Southampton's one of the at home. Southampton at home are we at that stage in life that Southampton, one of the worst ever Premier League sides, can beat you at home in a cup? Like, there's no excuse anymore, is there? And that's what it should be, by the way. You should be held accountable for the fans, these managers and these clubs. The fans should be able to hold you account now and go, no, we're not going to let you get away with that anymore. Trying to tell us that we can't win a trophy because all these other lads can win trophies and all these lads have a go for it. Do you know what I mean? And that's what it should be. Like, that's what. Again, it's for example, if you're Spurs now, the monkey's off the back. You're Newcastle, not the monkeys. Let's go again. Do you know what I mean? Like, we want to do this again. Like, that was a great day in Wembley. That with Newcastle. Let's go again and do that. So that's the stage that we're at to right now.
Suzy, looking at the kind of camera shots to the crowd and seeing Roy Hodgson for a start.
Is he there?
He was there, yeah. And the amazing thing to me, just on what you're saying there, is that's one manager who would sacrifice trophies for mediocrity. literally wouldn't. Yeah, well, I have a 2-0 head. No, I don't want a 2-0 head start.
If he wasn't contracted to show up for the game, he wouldn't have went.
Yeah, he probably wouldn't have went. Yeah.
You know, when Klopp didn't show up for the Shrewsbury game, remember that? What we drew with Shrewsbury. Yeah, we had a replay against him in the FA Cup 4th round, and Klopp just didn't even go. He was like, "Nah, I'm going to Aldi." Like, that's how much he didn't care about the FA Cup that year.
But Suzy, you're from my generation, and Crystal Palace were always a team that were fashionable. They always had a team of the 70s, team of the 80s, team of the 90s, and it never came through. They had people like Terry Venables managing them in the late 70s. They had players like
Mark Bright.
Yeah, they were the club that developed the players for the other teams.
Popple was brilliant.
But that's you kind of want to shake that tag off nowadays, don't you? We've talked about how well clubs are being run these days and how they're figuring out ways to game the system, almost like teams like Brighton and all that, to find players that they can invest in training wise and then sell on, and that sustains them instead of ticket turnstile fees and all that kind of stuff, because that's out the window now. So for a club like Crystal Palace that has year after year, or let's say decade after decade, promised so much, if you're a long-term supporter, that must be almost the best day of your footballing life.
Yeah, definitely. And I think things like this, like, unless you're born in South London, or unless you've inherited being a Palace fan, like you're not really going to have a global reach of fans, of a new age of fans, say like how City did with the money and success that came along with it, Chelsea did. So just to see something like this, like globally, that might have been shown on TV and Palace being the underdog. And as Brian was saying, like, Americans like the underdog story. I don't think they obviously experience in sports themselves, but Americans like the underdog story. It's like a Hollywood material, and to see Palace do this, who knows? Who knows how many more fans just because of that win are now going to be like Palace fans, and it's just a matter of extending life of clubs like Palace, Brentford, even Spurs now, winning the Europa, and now it's like, oh wait, they beat Man United. Man United are still, along with Madrid, probably the biggest global name in football. And whether you know how bad they've been for the last 2-3 years, they still have that legacy name behind them. And then to see someone like Tottenham beat them, however they beat them, it's all it does is just increase the fan base, just like 1 or 2 extra people, and obviously it's going to be more than that, but it just increases the longevity of the club. And so, seeing Newcastle obviously beat us, and and that was all over ESPN and so forth, and everyone expected Liverpool to win. And again, more people are aware of Newcastle, that Newcastle are actually club. They're not just the richest club in the world. They can't spend any money. They've won something, and that's what you're in it for. And this year it's just such a funny year. Harry Kane gets his first trophy. Tottenham, they win after like 25 years of winning nothing. Palace win the first trophy. Newcastle, we win the league. Real Madrid win nothing. City win nothing. It's just such a great season for neutrals and just for everyone who hates anything to do with Manchester and Arsenal. And Madrid. It's just been a great season overall.
Harry Kane actually won 2 trophies this year. He won the Europa League last night as well. He scored the winning goal.
Oh.
So that's a nice little segue onto Spurs now, Brian. That was a fine result, but a terrible, terrible game by all accounts. We'll get to see it live. But Spurs pulled through. They got their first trophy, 17 years or 19 years or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Ange Postecoglou did what he said he would do. He won a trophy in the second year. That is balls of steel. That's that is proper prediction stuff. But I mean, we'll talk about United because we need to laugh at them. It's genetically programmed into us to do so. But for Spurs, for Ange, we've given him a little bit of stick on this show. He's getting all sorts of pelters, as they say in all sorts of pelters in the media and from Spurs fans as well. He's going to finish 16th or 17th. I don't know how high they can go if he wins and United lose this weekend. But nevertheless, it's a great victory for Spurs, but it's an even better one for Big Ange, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, but I'm like what Gally was talking about right there on Monday. I don't even really know even winning this right there might not even save his job. I mean, so that's the funny part about this right there. I think that the amount of stuff that he won in the league, his league position right there, kind of does cause a little bit of problems to it. But again, in the Champions League right there, I mean, especially with especially how how Levy is right there. I mean, you think about that. The managers that he sacked along the way, right there. I mean, and once, I mean, right before you went to a European final, you sacked the manager. I mean, so I mean, again, right there. This is something right there that if it didn't actually go to where Levy thinks that this squad is going towards right there, and whether they will be sustainable in the Champions League, whether he's going to keep him or not. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think that, again, there's a lot of people. I know that Pochettino right there has a clause in his contract to go back to Spurs. I mean, if that's what they want to go, I mean, that's not. I would never go back to a job like that. But I mean, that's his prerogative on that. But I mean, I don't think the Ange is safe. I mean, I think that they're going to actually go in that review right there and say, hey, what did you accomplish in this thing? How much money did I invest in a squad, and where were you at through the league? Because again, right there, the league right there is the bread and butter. UEFA and the Europa League, you won what is like under 10 million, I think, 10 million pounds, I think, something like that. It's not very much. It's pretty low. I mean, in the big picture right there. Yeah, something like that. But then, I mean, yeah, getting in the Champions League is going to gain you more money right there and more revenue through there. But also, in the same point right there, do you think you're ready to have a manager who plays the way Ange plays and then go in the Champions League if that's going to be sustainable? And that's a question right that's going to go to Levy right there, and we'll see what happens.
Let me ask you this, though, Brian. Would you want to be the manager that follows the only trophy-winning manager at Spurs in 17 years? Because if you fail to win a trophy, everybody's going to go, but the last guy did it.
I don't know. There's a lot of managers have a lot of egos right there who think they can do better. And I mean, if you go down the list on there, there's probably about 9 out of 10 managers can say, you know what, I can one up this. And, you know, I think anybody right there would be willing to take that job. I mean, because, I mean, a lot of people have said right there, you know, I mean, yeah, we laugh about Spurs being how Spursy they are and stuff like that. But, you know, there's a lot of potential in that squad. I mean, right there, you know, with what you can play with. I mean, and now being able to go in there and say, hey, I've got this budget going into the Champions League. Why wouldn't a manager want to go in there and go? Why wouldn't like a Brendan Rodgers who has the ego want to go in and say, hey, guess what? Why shouldn't I come over here and go and try to and go back to the league again? I think I can do better this time. I mean, again, right there, there's a lot of them out there who are probably definitely willing to go in there and make that gamble.
I mean, to be fair, he did win the FA Cup with Leicester, so he's got a bit of background to do it. Yeah. But my question to you, Kazi, because as Brian is saying that, I'm thinking there's rumours that Steven Gerrard might go back to Rangers, but that would be the challenge. That would be a kind of challenge that he's one of the he's one of the bravest players. I'm not in the brave Scotty Parker way, but he never gave up belief when he was a Liverpool player. But he also maintains that ego. He would be one that would say, I don't know whether I'll do better than Ange, but I certainly can do as good as him.
Gerrard's not going to Spurs. They're not getting rid of Ange. I just think there's too many excuses that he can line up ready to go. He can. He kind of mentioned it last night in his post match, but he kind of said in January, I kind of knew we're not getting relegated. I may as well just try and we can't finish in the top 4. Tremendous meme. So it's just kind of he's already alluded to it, and he can kind of sell that. Listen, mate, I think there's a part of this where he's had chat with Daniel Levy throughout fucking the season anyway, and he's like, "What are you playing at? Like, what's going on here?" Like, and he's going, "Lads, just win you a trophy." That's like, you know what I mean? Like, and that's let's get that off your back first. I think there's no way that a manager doesn't speak to the higher ups when you're going through such a bad spell throughout the season. There's just no way. Like, imagine you were doing so bad in your job, and then you go, "Oh, we'll just wait a year and then have a chat with you." No, they ring it in quick and go, "What are you doing?" Do you know what I mean? Like, we need this, and he's gonna go, "Well, I'll go with my plan." And listen, his plan's worked. I'm not the biggest Ange fan in the world. My biggest reason was I didn't like the way he played football. I didn't like the way he played football in terms of he had no plan B. What he showed me, though, against Frankfurt away in the Europa League and the final is that he might be starting to adapt himself a little bit and going, he might have a little bit of a plan B. When you play such a high attacking, forceful front foot football, you do need those games where you go, "Hey, lads, we're playing a good side. We can sit in here and save your legs and we can bang them on the counter with the pace that you can have." Listen, by the way, last night he had no Maddison as well in the squad. Tell didn't get on. Like, good players. Do you know what I mean? Like, Kulusevski's not there. He's a great player as well. So he had his excuses last night. Let's get it right, mate. If United beat them last night, he has his excuses lined up. Come on, I got me full set. I had to play this way because I ain't got me full set. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? The one thing I would say, though, this is the difference between him and the guy who manages Arsenal. My God, he doesn't make an excuse, does he?
No.
Doesn't give him no excuses, though. No, it's not enough. Doesn't matter. Where the guy who manages Arsenal is the first guy to roll out any kind of excuse in the world. "Oh, it was raining today.
The grass was at the wrong angle."
Do you know what I mean? "Oh, he forgot to mow the grass. We're fucked." Do you know what I mean? So any excuse, he'll line it up. I feel like Ange just didn't have that. Ange says, "Yeah, I got my injuries, but still, that's not good enough on the pitch. That's not good enough." And I quite like that. Klopp is a bit like that, really, in his last season. When we had all the injuries, and he was just like, "No, it's still not good enough. Like, I'm not giving these kids an excuse." And he hasn't given them an excuse. And what they've done now is deliver something that, you know, the fans remember forever. It's also something quite funny, actually, because now they're going to play a game in the Super Cup, which Arsenal have never been in that game, which absolutely must rile the fans. If they win that trophy, if they win the Super Cup, and oh my God, could you imagine them going back into the Arsenal fans going, "You've never played in this game. You've never had a chance to win this trophy." I just find that hilarious. But I'm just sometimes, mate, I'm happy that the good guys win. I do feel like that with me football sometimes. Do you know what I mean? Let's get it right, mate. I thought all the build up to the game was bordering on appalling. I thought it was actually appalling. I thought the commentator Neville and Carragher and Scouser, "You'll never beat them in a final because of the history and tradition of Man United." They've got better players all over the park. They've literally got better football players all over the park. I don't get this. Am I bamboozled? So, for example, if Everton play Brighton in a final, you're going to go, "Everton, you'll never beat Everton in a final because of all the history and tradition of Everton." No, Brighton are a better team. They've got better players all over the pitch. Like, I just thought it was so disrespectful, the build-up to the game from the pundits and the comments that they were making. And, like, this is, you know, the bailout. And I'm so happy they've kind of stuck it into them a little bit, do you know what I mean? Of, like, there you go kind of thing. And basically let Manchester United live in misery for the next 10 years.
Let me ask you this before I go to Cecido, because I think on the whole, you may be right about Ange not getting fired, but is Daniel Levy the most reasonable man in the world?
No. But what Ange can cancel himself. Okay, you want to sack me? Let's say. Well, that's going to cost you 15-20 million. And don't worry about me. I'll get another Premier League job. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I'll be fine here. But what you can sell the idea here, though, Mac, of like, the injuries happened. We need to get Tell out the door. She's on loan. I think, you know, she want to sign him permanently. You need to get 3 or 4 out the door and give you a foot. You know, the squad isn't far away from the Bournemouth squad who were 7th in the league. I think we're not that far away. I would say. I think Spurs have got when they're all fully fit, a squad that can rival Bournemouth's, in my opinion. I think the keeper needs to be improved. If I'm honest, I like Vicario, but I just think you can get a better keeper.
Like an Irish one?
Hey,
Yeah.
Also a part. Listen, it's an option. There's also a part you probably need another good centre half. He signed Danzo, he was okay, but you can't rely on Van der Ven and Romero's fitness. You know what I mean? Like the Jed Spence coming off the bench, he's not a bad player. Porro's a really good right back in my opinion. I think he's solid. I like the midfield. I like Basuma. I like Maddison. I don't mind Sarr. Solanke looks like a really good striker in my opinion. Kulusevski, Brennan Johnson. So there's pieces there, fella, they need to work with. And all you can say is like, listen, we've got this Champions League money now. You know, we can kind of kick on here and just give me 3 or 4 really good ones, and we can kind of go. Do you know what I mean? So I don't think he's getting sacked. I think there's enough there for Ange to really kick on next season.
Now, Suzy, I was saving this thought for you, and Cosy kind of broached it a little bit, but you must be puking into your boots if you're an Arsenal fan today. I mean, that is like, it's not even like Spurs were challenging top 6 or anything like that. They're down in the bottom 5, and they've won a European trophy. Arsenal's last one was George Graham, wasn't it? That was like
Cup Winners' Cup.
Yeah, 94, 93, 94, one of those 2 years.
I think.
Yeah.
They made 2 European finals in a row, if I remember, 2 and 3 years.
He lost to Sociedad, didn't he?
Yeah, that was what's his name, Salim or whatever, with the big overhead.
Siemens used to get in love, didn't
he? He got a lot of those goals against him. He would have hated playing against Luis Suarez.
Oh, mate, he would have got loved every week in training every day.
But you know, we've talked about Arteta and kind of his like nouveau coach image that he likes to put forward. But Ange Postecoglou, no matter what we think about his stubbornness, about his playing style, he's a good old Aussie battler. Like he's just a straightforward, a guy you can have a beer with. Although it has to be Foster's, unfortunately. But a guy you can have a beer with. And looking at the post-match celebrations, he was giving it to the players. But they were trying to do all the trophy stuff. He was like Jared Houllier did in 2001. He sat back and was like, that's your time now. But they still brought him in. It doesn't seem to me like the Spurs fans or the Spurs players have any kind of static with Big Ange. Whereas you can kind of get an impression that sometimes the Arsenal players are like, what's this moron talking about again? I've no idea. What's George Foreman grills are not going to help me win this game against Southampton. And if you're an Arsenal fan and you're looking at that, you must be thinking, probably laughing your way all season that Spurs were doing so badly. And now they've got a trophy and Arsenal have a Lego kit in charge.
Things Arsenal fans, again, majority of them, they're just an extension of Arteta. And it's just excuses. And they'll cling on to anything. Oh, yeah, Liverpool will finish with lower points than they did last season and whatever. And, you know, their floor is our ceiling. They forget 2 years prior to that, 3 years prior to that, we won 94 points, 98 points, and we still didn't win the league. So, you know, it's, you know, I don't know. Arsenal fans, they're on a breed, along with Man United fans, like in this delusional world where they have this sense of entitlement. You know, Man United fans, you can kind of understand they've had some recent success, you know, be it domestic trophies or whatever. But Arsenal fans, they're just, don't get me started.
No, that's exactly why I asked you the question. I wanted to get you started.
They're just, it's like Carl was saying, like with Ange, you know, I don't think he has too many people that hate him. He wears his heart in his sleeve, and that's it. He says what he feels like pretty much like Klopp did, pretty much like what Slot does. You know, we haven't seen the negative side of Slot because he hasn't gone through that. You know, and hopefully he doesn't. But you know, with Arteta, it's just it just wants to be like Pep Guardiola so much, and that's probably where he got the whole I won the Community Shield 3 times from, because that's what Pep said. So, you know, it's
I forgot about that.
He's just a clone. Like he's just not his own man. And when you try so hard to be someone else, you're gonna, you know, it's like trying to clone a perfect specimen. You're gonna have things missing, and that's what Arteta is.
The shield, no, I forgot about that. You know, I always forget about it. I've won it twice. I've won 3 trophies. Oh, sure.
What I was going to say was, I can't remember now because that was such a good line there.
I mean, I think the bigger part of this, the whole cup final win, is the opposite side. And let's get it right. The mess that they're in is just it couldn't bear thinking about if you're a United fan how bad they are. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like, and I'm not just saying the team. By the way, the team's absolutely horrific. We know all this. The finances are poor. That team he started yesterday feels like to me that's a manager who wants to get sacked. That's what that feels like to me. You wait till the 72nd minute, attacking players like Garnacho and things. Let's get it right. It's one of the worst quality 90 minutes of footy I've ever seen in my life. The quality was absolutely appalling. The goal summed up the whole game. The goal is awful. It's an awful goal to concede. It's even a bad one to score, and I wouldn't think I'd ever say that. So, what he's done there, fella, right, I'm not going to say he signed his death warrant as such, but there's clearly players in that squad he wants out. Nacho and Xerxes. I like Dallo. I can't believe Dallo doesn't get on quicker. Like, I quite like Dallo. I actually think he provides him a lot more better balance in the team. Do you know what I mean? But there's players on the bench. Ugarte doesn't get on. By the way, he's the one who turned Ugarte into a bit of a player, a Sporting, before he went to PSG. That was him. Doesn't like him. Couldn't wait to go out the door. Can't get on the pitch. Doesn't even get on the pitch again. I just think to myself, mate, right, when you offer nothing in a cup final like that, that's striker up front. Listen, I've seen footy players. No, I'm genuinely right. And I've seen a lot of footy. I've watched a lot of footy matches. I just think to myself, he is the worst striker I've ever seen. And I'm genuinely, and listen, mate, we've seen some absolute like Voronin and players like that, mate. They offered more than that. He offered more than him. He is appalling. He looks like an amateur. He looks like he's 15. I know he's a young lad, but he looks like he's 15. He's been there over 2 years now. Like, you've got to start showing, you've got to start learning something. Do you know what I mean? Like, you have to start showing some physical. The ball bounces off him. At least control the footy. Control the footy. I always say this sometimes. Players have bad games. They're not robots. We're used to watching Liverpool for the last 5 years, and that's why we're so critical of them, right? But they're not robots. They all make mistakes, right? When you're having a bad game, the bare minimum you can do is control the footy and pass it to someone who's having a good game. Just control the ball, go, not my day. I'm 5 minutes on me, just pass it off quick, bang. You can't even do that. You can't even you can't even wait for the lads 10 seconds, hold the ball up, win a foul to go get these up the pitch. I just feel that we'll get to the finances and all that later, right? But gents, I really want to break this down for you and how bad the position they're in, right? This is super interesting. The way that you reset a club is get players out the club. You don't get players in to reset, you get the players out to reset. They have 4 players with contracts expiring in 2025. Ericsson, Johnny Evans, and Tom Heaton. Not starters, I would say. Right? Out the door. Okay, that's fine. They're all going on free transfers. Next year, they only have Harry Maguire and Casemiro. Is in 2026. Okay? So, you want them both out the door. Maguire could probably still a job, but he's a bit old. Not going to sound. Casemiro's finished. 2027, they have Bruno, Kobbie Mainoo, Martinez, Shaw, Banyinda, Collier, and Harry Amas. So my question is here, though, gents, and this is what I'm getting to. Martinez can't get fit, but you still got 2 years to deal with him. You still got to pay him because no one's signing him. Nope. Who's signing Luke Shaw on that money? Nope. You've got Kobbie Mainoo, who's 20. You might look on getting out the door. Bruno Fernandes can't have already come out and said, if they have to sell me, they can sell me. I can't be asked of this. We'll go to 2028. This is wild, gents. This is how bad this club is run. Højlund, he's got 3 years left. How much is Højlund worth right now? I genuinely reckon I can look around the spare bedroom and find the amount lying on the floor somewhere. Garnacho, he's got 3 years left. He can't wait to get out the door. Onana, 3 years? What are you doing with him? What genuinely? Mason Mount has got 3 years left. What are we doing, gents? I'm genuinely being serious. You're the sporting director and you're walking into this. What are we doing? We have no Champions League. We have no Europe. So you can't even take the games, the match day revenue, which is like 7 or 8 million, whatever it is a match day. You can't even take that TV rights from the Europa League. Oh, Europe? What are we doing? Because these are the ones, by the way, that he doesn't want. These are the ones that are going late. He doesn't want them. I'm looking at 2029. I looked before. Ugarte doesn't start him in a European final. He's got 4 years left. And then Xerxes got got 4 left. So this is the point I'm getting at, gents. It's not as it's worse than you think. In that aspect, it's worse because sometimes I look at Everton, for example. Everton are great. I think Everton will finish top 10 next year. There's my yearly prediction, right? Tell you why. They have 10 players leaving this summer, whether loans or free contracts. Moyes just have a big reset and just get a few boss lads in that he likes, and Moyes will just do what Moyes does and push them from 12th to 8th in that range. You can't reset. You can't have it. You can't go, lads, this is rock bottom now. Okay, what are we doing in the summer? Hey, someone's just come in and bid 8 million. We can't take a £65 million bath on him, gents. Do you know what I mean? We've got to just keep him round. That's the point I'm getting at here, gents. It's worse than you think. It's that bad.
I mean, you really have 3 players that you have to actually sell that you're going to be forced to sell. They're going to be forced to sell Manu. Manu's got to balance. Fernandez and Garnacho are all 3 of those players have to get sold right there just to get some kind of balance.
He didn't start 2 of them in the final. He doesn't want them anyway. This is the other part. He brings Maino on in the 89th minute. So it's not like he wants them anyway.
The problem with Ahmad is right there, that they just signed into another long-term contract. So that means right there that you're actually upping the value that you're at to even sell him. So they're kind of screwed in that department also. And if you would think about it, I mean, because you signed into another 5-year deal, to a bumper deal right there. So, I mean, he's here for a long time. So you're basically forced right there to sell 3 of your three top player talents you have there. And you may have to go and want to sell somebody like Collier or somebody like that to go there to move them on. So you got lots of pride. And Heaven may be another player right there that they may have to be forced to go and do something with also.
Right, but the problem is he doesn't want them anyway. He still doesn't want Mike because why aren't you playing him in the European final? Why are you bringing him on tonight? He doesn't want Garnacho because you bring him on before the 72nd minute to try and change a game when the game is that bad in quality. By the way, he comes on, creates a chance, and he scores. So that's how wild I'm getting at these gents. That's why you've really got to think about this. The players we were saying where you can make some money on them, he doesn't want them anyway. The ones who we think are talented, he doesn't want them. That's why it's so. You took a bath so much on this back and what you've done with Amarin to go, right, we'll have a big reset, but it's got as worse as it can be. They're on 39 points. The lowest Liverpool have ever finished since the 60s is 8th. So when people go, well, this happened to Liverpool in the 90s, no, fucking didn't. Don't you dare.
Nope.
Finished 8th. It's the lowest we ever finished. Do you know what I mean? So let's get, absolutely, no, it did not. So, the lowest ever points tally that United got on 39 points. The lowest they've ever got in Premier League history is 59. They are 20 points short with the game left. Now, I don't know the math, gents, but I don't think they can do it. And then, by the way, they're playing Aston Villa. And Villa must be licking their lips. Going, that's the Champions League space up for grabs, and we're going to play that. Yeah. What I'm getting at is, gents, right, and this is a bigger point, and I know I've run on a bit of a rant about United, but if I'm a United fan, I'd be shitting myself. I'd be so concerned of, like, there's just nothing to really. They might have to cash in on Bruno. That is literally.
You have to.
You have one big sellable asset is Bruno. But by the way, Bruno's probably like 29, 30 now. Who's paying?
But how big of an asset is that to sell right there? You're talking about 45, maybe 50.
Who's going to go for him?
Saudi.
Exactly.
I mean, Saudi.
Yeah, that's it.
I mean, Garnacho right there, you said right there is probably about a 25 mil player. Manu's probably right there. This is English, which would be an inflated thing right there. Will take him up to probably make like 40, 50, something like that department.
This is the other part of this, gents, right? When you don't play them in these games, you're taking the money off them. The value depreciates. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. That's what I'm saying. The value's completely depreciating. Because they're not playing, they're coming on the stats. Because let's get it right. The first thing that we all do these days, gents, because it's 2025, Liverpool link with the player, the first thing you do is put the stats. How many goals and assists you get? You do that with Kobe Mainoo, you do that with Garnacho, you go, fuck me, shit.
Yeah.
I don't want him. So if I'm going to take a chance on him, I want to pay this price to take a chance on him. And that's the difference. So I just think, gents, it's worse than you think, honestly. I would be...
It's a huge mess. I mean, I think Amarim's trying to play chicken with Jim Ratcliffe as well. I think he's looking to get fired, and he won't quit because he'll miss out on the compensation money, and that's what it is. So you've got a manager who doesn't want to be there. He's begging to get fired. Ratcliffe knows he can't fire him because he has to pay that money and then pay compensation for another manager, whoever might be crazy enough to even go to that mess. I mean, Amram didn't want to go there. He was like kind of forced to go there this January. He wanted to wait until the summer.
I know. The thing is, sorry, go on.
Let me just point out, we hadn't finished the Spurs discussion. We're prematurely talking about Man United, which makes me question all your sex lives, by the way, boys. But because you can go on. The next thing I want to address, though, because I want you to say a thing, but is this man the man to do the repair job for Man United, or is, as Suzy saying, looking for the sack? I think, go ahead with your point, because I know it's going to be a good one.
I think the manager's position is important. You've went too deep into the woods now. You may as well give him the chance. This is the part. You may as well just give him the chance and go, you know what? We're too deep into this. It's not like we finished 6th or 7th or whatever it is. He's made a little small improvement. You're too deep. It's gone. You're never getting relegated. Let's be frank here, gents, right? They're not getting relegated next season. So this thing of like the teams who are going to come up are going to get whacked, and they're all 3 are going back down anyway. So what they can do now is build. But how you need to build is, though, you need money. You need to get them out the door, and that's the point. Who's taking Luke Shaw with 3 years left on that money? There's no one. I actually think he has a chance to do it, but it's going to be 5 years. This is the point. When I'm saying 5 years, I'm talking 5 years to win trophies again, big trophies, or challenge for big trophies. I think it's 5 years. I know what you're going to say. It can't. All I'm saying is, tonight, it's not going to be 100 points to win the league anymore. This is my point. It's going to be around the mid-80s again. It's going to be back to normal footy. You say if United win on the weekend, they finish on 42. There's teams who are going to be in the Champions League on 69. So it's not like the gap is like, oh my God, we're 45 points away gap. It's like it's 25 points. Okay, it's a lot of points. I'm not saying it's easy to find 25 points. It is a lot in that sense. But it's not like he's lost a lot of home games. He's turn a few of those home games into a few wins. Before you know it, the gap comes like that. Do you know what I mean? It can turn it. Look at Nottingham Forest, look at Bournemouth. The gap can turn quick. The difference is he has to be backed with, he needs 6 players. The one signing he's made is Dorgu. He looks all right. Dorgu actually looks he's 20 years of age. He looks tidy. He looks like a player. Do you know what I mean? The other part about last night is, and that's why last night's so blinded, he didn't have Martinez and Delit. Do you know what I mean? What worried me about last night, if I was a United fan, is the subs. The subs you could see after 20 minutes. I thought at half time he's whipping Mount off, he's putting Garnacho on the wing and going, we're having this. Spurs took the lead, we're going for this. And it looked like he froze a bit. That's the biggest concern I have. I think he froze a little bit last night for me. Do you know what I mean? So we'll see.
Let me ask you this, because I want to move up a level, and then we'll get to Brian. Has the Sir Jim Radcliffe entry into United's board room machinations, has that been more than the managers and more than the crop players? Has that been the biggest factor in their downfall? Because he's not coming in looking to spend. He's looking to come in and cut money. He's a one-man doge, or whatever way you want to pronounce that. But it would almost seem like he would stick with Amorim, even if Amorim is the wrong man, because he doesn't want to spend, as you say, the compensation that Amorim will be looking for, and the coaching staff. We can never forget that. It's not just Amorim, it's always the coaching staff as well. Is that the thing that's going to hamstring United more than actual managers and players, is the fact that the person in charge of the purse strings probably doesn't want to spend any of the money?
Yeah, and to Cos's point, I don't think they can spend the money. We've got FFP, they've got to, they're trying to get this new stadium. The biggest asset, Bruno, apart from Saudi, who's going to really go for him? We're talking about one player, one big player of your asset that you're selling. Rashford's going for free, another big asset. They've got Jadon Sancho. I think maybe he'll go for free. They've got all these expensive players that they got tricked into buying because their scouting department were either too lazy and just wanted to see what everyone else was doing, and we'll spend more money than them, and we'll get them like they did with Yuri Leno and De Ligt, and Ugarte. They thought Liverpool were going to go for him, so they went for him. They thought we were going to go for Mason Mount, they went for him, and that's just what they've done, and they've just created such a big mess. And Ratcliffe's to come in. He gave Ten Hag another extension on his contract, but absolutely just Ten Hag must have thought he won the lottery. Like seriously, like he gave him an extension, more money to spend, justify it, paying that compensation money, then pay Sporting Lisbon compensation money for a manager who doesn't even want to be there. The manager that was so desperate to get out of Lisbon, they flew himself to West Ham, and they said no, thank you. So then he flew back. You know, he tried to play that game with Liverpool. Well, yeah, I might join you, might not. You know what? Fuck you. We're going for slot. You know, you can go to Man United. You know, and that the only way Man United come out of this is if Qatar come and buy them. And I think the valuation's probably gone down.
The Glazers aren't selling.
Yeah, and that's just it. And if Glazers don't sell, they're just going to be stuck in this rut.
Yeah.
And, you know, and that Man United name, you know, obviously being a Liverpool fan, it's going to hurt to say they are,
of course,
in a financial sense, a bigger club than us. You know, in a marketing sense, they took advantage of that Sky when Sky took over, and that's what they're living off. You're dining out on their name, but that's only going to last so long until they start winning. And now they've got to win in the big leagues. You know, if Qatar's not buying them, the only other thing that might save them if the ESL ever goes through, and all this gets ripped up, and they kind of start again and whatever, and you know, don't have. But I don't see that happening anytime soon. So it couldn't happen to a better club. You know, could they go down? Maybe.
They can't go down
because I know. The only reason why I say,
go on, brother.
You look at the clubs that come up. Their players will want to play for that manager, regardless of which.
Okay.
You know, they've got your fans excited and so forth. This manager only knows one way to play. He's pissed off all the other players. He's pissed off the big name players. Now, to try and attract players to that club, they've got to, one, play in that system, two, think that he's going to be around for more than 6 months. And it's just so much toxicity in that club. You know, they've lost how many home games? Like 9-10 home games. The fans are turning on them. It's just a mess from like top to bottom. When we were in our mess, with, you know, with Gillette and Hicks and so forth, we turned against the owners, but we never turned against the players. You know, but the fans are just turning on everything. They don't even know who to turn on anymore. They're turning on Glazers. They're wanting Ratcliffe in. Ratcliffe's now in, firing everyone. It's like they can't even use the owners as an excuse. That club is just a complete mess.
But they'll always get over 40 points. They'll still get 40 points.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, seriously, I would agree with you if it was 15 years ago when teams were going down on 37, 38. I'd say, you know what, next year they could go down. But teams are going down on 25 points. United will still get more than 20. That's the problem. I think if the gap was closer and like teams are going down on 37, I'd be like, oh, fucking hell, next year, mate, if they don't get this right and they're going to commit to this. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's the joke, I think. But I just think the gap is just too big between the Championship and the Premier League. Now, that's all. They'll get over the line too much. But in terms of the players for Eminem, I don't know. This is the thing. You just don't know. I actually think De Ligt and Martinez would look great in a back three. I actually think they look great in a back three. When them two play, they do look like a bit of a different team. I'm not saying they're amazing, far from it, but they just look a bit more secure. They look like, you know, Martinez carries the ball out and so is De Ligt, and they just look a little bit better. Do you know what I mean?
Then they have a Nana behind them. So now you've got to buy a world-class keeper. Who's going to want to go to that mess?
But this is the thing as well. You might as well just go and get a keeper on loan. This is the other thing. Yeah, that's another thing as well with Rashford. Rashford is like, that's a sellable asset now. He's turned himself into a sellable asset for you. So that is someone you can kind of get out the door if you want. He's 27. It's a great age still. Do you know what I mean? But he's on 350 grand a week. And he's got so many years left on his contract. So this is the other part of this mad spiral that they've got themselves into. I've said this before, I'll say it again. I know we've got to move on, but I think it's important. This all started. It's not with the manager leaving Ferguson. Can't give David De Gea, your goalkeeper, 350 grand a week and make him the highest paid player. That is to me one of the craziest things that's ever happened in sport. You cannot do that. Because you know why? Because when you're negotiating with Lukaku and Pogba, when they want to come in and go, wait there, we're going to score all the goals and win your trophies, and the keeper's on 350 grand a week and you're offering me 220. And that just spikes the wages. The strikers have to be the highest paid player. The striker has to be it. Salah's the highest paid player for Liverpool. I can bet my life that Saka's the highest paid player for Arsenal. Or he will be in his next contract. He's only a kid and he will be in his next contract. Haaland will be the highest paid player at City. It's just, they win you the trophies. They're the ones who scored the goals. He's a goalkeeper.
Goals are money.
Like, exactly. It's genuinely, it's like putting a defensive end, literally, as in NFL, as your highest paid player. He's literally a defensive end. What are you talking about? No, it's hard the quarterback as your highest paid player because he wins you the game. So it's just staggering, and that's where this is all stemmed from, in my opinion.
Brian, I'll give you the last word before we move on. Is Cosy right, or did Ferguson leave enough booby traps when he was leaving that no other manager would ever have the glory that he had?
That's next Thursday. We can talk about the Ferguson's last team. That's the next Thursday.
I mean, I think that basically what you had with Ferguson right there, he saw the writing on the wall, what was about to happen there, and he's like, you know what? I gotta go. I gotta get out of this shit quick. I mean, and that's why he came there tagged right there. You know, where you had who he came there tagged on as his successor was never going to live up to the expectations right there at all right there, and basically became a scapegoat. And you've had every manager that's gone down to that whole process right there has turned into scapegoats for some kind of for something that happened. It all goes back to their ownership team right there and how they ran that club. You basically go down, the Glazers ran that club into the ground. I mean, if it wasn't for the commercial money that they put and floating them on the stock market, they wouldn't even be at this point where they were at the moment anyway. So, I mean, I think that Ferguson basically could have said, hey, you know what? I can't, like Kazi said, that last Ferguson squad, I mean, it was a terrible squad. I mean, it was bad. I mean, and it set the groundwork for all this, for unexpected expectations, because you look back at 1999 and then what they had, and that's what United supporters hang on to 1999. That's like their whole Macka thing. It's almost like the whole thing with the Arsenal, the supporters hanging on to that one season where they went undefeated right there. It's like a thing that they have to hold on to and say, well, we did this. Well, we did a treble. We did this. Like they got nothing to come with their talk about. They're fucking quiet now. I mean, they really are. I mean, they're quiet.
20 times. We won the treble. It's gone. Not even unique anymore. No one cares. That's
yeah.
Cares.
And again.
But the thing is, the Ferguson squad could be looked into another day, honestly. But I think it was like the greatest thing that Jurgen may have ever done is left that squad to the next manager.
But my last thing about this, where the condition that they're in right now, I agree with a lot of what Kazi's saying right there, is that without the income that they have, they can't afford to go in there to pay all these players the wages they have and not have European football and not having that revenue come in. That's going to be a big drastic thing. So they are basically forcing themselves that they have to get rid of their part of their squad. That's it.
Okay, let's move on to something that we can kind of laugh at as well as United. That's always a good thing. We definitely will go on to the Alex Ferguson thing, especially from his face from last night that's going all around Twitter, etc. But we have to move on to our favorite Room 433, which is the lads get to choose a moment or an event or an item from whatever the criteria is. This week, it's for anything from this past season that they want to dump forever into Room 433, or they have to keep it for themselves. It's anything they want from Liverpool to non-Liverpool, just has to be soccer related and not something you've already proposed. You don't get to add a rider to a bill and then repropose it in the House of Representatives again just because it didn't pass the first time round. So who has one? I'm going to start with that person there. Go ahead, Brian.
I am going with the 3 relegated teams right there. Because you know what? This has probably been the worst 3 teams to come up in this. I think in the history we've had of the Premiership right now. This is. I mean, there was no way any of these teams would ever survive any time that we've had right now. Southampton, completely awful. Leicester, completely awful. Ipswich had one player right there, a young player right there that they depended on, and he didn't even go there put the goals out for them right there. So, yeah, those 3 teams right there, that whole relegation squad, that thing right there, Room 433, please.
Couldn't agree more.
Lads, what do we think? I'll say
Mark.
reason why I wouldn't be inclined to put them in is because I'd like to put Man United in and Everton with them.
No,
But you think about that, how bad they are. If that in that case, if they're
I'd
Wolves, Spurs, and United would have been
want
in
Everton
that
United
bottom.
in with them.
no, because that means they have to be locked away. I want them to stay out. I want the torture to still happen. I want the people locked away.
Yeah, that is a good point.
I
That
want
is a
United
good
and
point.
still here so I can laugh at them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good point.
No, I couldn't agree more.
Suzy, what do you think?
I'm all in on a Super League now. I'm all in on it.
Yeah, I'm a Kazi. The Super League makes more sense. Like these teams coming up, it's like they're just stealing that parachute payment, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're just coming up, stealing that parachute payment, going back down. You know, the whole relegation promotion thing needs to be looked at with some kind of playoff system.
We did have this one. Now, just be careful. So I'm assuming Brian means the 3 teams that are going back down again, and not the system. Yes, that is right, Kazi. It was you. But here's my question though: if we lose Leicester, do we also lose the 2016 title, or do we get the?
Which I'm fine with. I'm fine with.
I'm good with it.
Okay. Right, so
the Spurs would have won a trophy sooner.
In a serious aspect, mate, we need teams who are going to come and give it a fucking go. That's it. Let's be frank here. You know what I mean? Leicester have come up and sold the best player in Dewsbury Hall. Southampton came up and just with a bag of rags, didn't even want to know. And then Ipswich came up and looked like they kind of got a few pieces, but it's the first time in the league in 18 years or something daft like that. Get me Sunderland back in this league, please. It's a big football club. I want the Town Weir derby back, which is a fantastic derby for all the American fans who might not know because they're kind of new to the game. The Newcastle-Sunderland derby is as fierce as anything at the Time Weir. Give me Leeds back. I know they're already coming up. I need big clubs back in this league. Burnley are garbage, but it is what it is. That's Scott Parker, but they conceded 4 goals all season, the most boring football. But if you're going to come up and give it a go, and you're going to try and win footy matches, you can try and stay in this league. But if you go down with less than 30 points again, never come back.
I think we'll give that one. Those 3 teams can go down, but we get to keep Leicester's title from 2016. And I do agree that the Newcastle Sunderland derby is a great occasion, but it's also the occasion of the fat-bellied fans versus the sensible diet fans.
I mean,
Sunderland were definitely skinnier.
Our Geordie friends do love the shirts off in December.
They do love their shirt. Yeah, they do indeed. But what I was going to say, so Brian gets that one. Well done, Brian. Because he's seen his Brian style yours, I'll have you last. So Z, something from this season, what do you want to get rid of that you haven't mentioned before?
He takes mine.
Trent.
That was
Everything about it. And I was like probably the last man standing about being a rat and stuff. But whatever. I wouldn't go so far as calling him a rat, but in the midst of all of this that got lost, with all the bullshit that the fake goodbye, when you compare that to the West Ham players, what's his name, Cresley, and you look at Bobby's goodbye, even Sadio Mane's got like
Lallana's. Remember Lallana's in tears?
Yeah, like he didn't even shed it. It was just so like it's like he was reading of Chat GPT, and it was, and then in the midst, he just lost the fact that he was our vice captain, and no one, and you just lost all of that. He was our vice captain, he was. I know he was selected as for sentimental reasons of club, and club was sentimental to a fault, but yeah, we won this league without coming out of second gear, and something that we finally get to celebrate in front of fans and everything else, and all this bullshit just kind of like detracted away from what happened after Tottenham. It became about him, and even now, after every game, if he's on the pitch, the cameras are fixated on what's happening with Trent. Is he going to get booed again? There was no need for it. No, he's just trying to, he's just like that bridesmaid that screwed the husband at a wedding, and it's all come out, and no one's paying attention to the bride because they know the bridesmaid fucked the husband. That's what Trent is. So yeah, Trent goes into room 433.
I can't disagree more. I'm kidding. I do agree. No, it's correct. Yeah. Every now it's all played out. It's just awful. It stinks. It absolutely stinks. Chance is the type of guy who thinks the strippers fell in love with him, and she really fancies him. Just a dire situation, and I think the manager actually handled it perfectly. He's batted it off, and listen, it is what it is. Don't you tell us what your legacy is. We decide your legacy, and that's something that I've had enough of. Football players. This is a really big sticking point for me. Football players thinking they decide their own legacy. You don't decide your legacy, we do. I decide what your legacy is. I'm a fan. I decide what my opinion is, and you don't get to control your opinion. I genuinely think that video after Brighton of Trent when he's looking at the fans, it's one of the most haunting videos that I've seen in a while in football. Of just standing there going, and he's knowing himself like, I've ruined this. Like he should be in the middle. He should have been jumping in the crowd in the middle. That's what should have been happening. Because that's what I would have done if I was a local player, and I just delivered the league title like that. Do you know what I mean? And now he could see it in his face himself, but there's a very old age saying, you make your bed, you lie on it.
I mean, there's such a different way he could have done things where he could still be here, and he just chose not to do it. He literally chose not to do it that way. So no disagreement from Brian or Cozzy or me.
No.
Trent, bye, my friend.
Who?
Yeah. Bye, my friend. You'll forever be a trivia question for Liverpool fans. So now you've had thinking time, Cozzy, and there's nobody can take it away from you. What is your pick?
Do you know what, mate? I don't know if it's been voted before or the Darwin Núñez.
He's already in there.
Like, he's already in there.
He was the first one in there.
I'm pretty sure he wasn't even selected. He just fell in.
Yeah, double Darwin is never good for anyone, is it? But he wasn't even selected. That's tickled me. That really has. Moment of the season that I'd like to put in 4-3-3. I would probably the Tarkowski goal. Fucking hell, like to have that moment of winning the last ever derby. For me, would have been heaven on earth, and that's just a personal thing. I don't want to see Tarkowski's goal ever again. Listen, I'm happy for my blue friends. Listen, you know what I mean. I would never begrudge anyone happiness. Do you know what I mean? I'm happy for them, but for me personally, that's as bad as it gets. And we were poor in the game again. Another poor showing at Goodison Park. They were showing up once in 5 years when we beat them 4-2, 4-1. Beat them 4-1 there. Another poor showing, and I thought we would get over the line. Mo Salah was abysmal, but walked off the pitch with a goal and assist. Because that's what Mo Salah does. And then the centre-half in the last kick of the game belams one top corner because I believe it's Kostas Tsimikas can't defend his back post. But there we are.
I think that would almost count as Everton's own Divock Origi moment, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
And therefore, we can't let them have any sort of happiness or joy whatsoever.
Yeah,
so
I want Everton to stay out.
For me, at least.
Yeah, Everton's moments can go in. Everton's moments can stay out. Yeah,
he can go into the 4-3. But to say, Brian, any disagreements there at all?
So remember back
go ahead, Brian.
So remember back in the day right there where everybody teased about the DVD, about Everton making DVDs for everything? That's their modern DVD right there. So the Tarkowski goal.
It is. And again, I understand it's the last ever derby, the emotions. I think if it was last ever the game in Anfield and Liverpool did that, I think we had all reacted the same. So this thing of, they overreacted, listen, mate, we would have done exactly the same in the last ever derby. So don't even give me that. It's Everton's moment, and they should appreciate it. It's very much the last. Would have been. It's just a sprinkle off a lovely big Liverpool cake of this season. It's just a little. We're missing a couple of sprinkles. That's all it is on my big, massive, humongous cake of Liverpool season.
So, see, any objections?
Yeah, because if you won that game, I don't know. We've had other draws throughout the season, but that one was a telling draw, and we wouldn't have won the game at home in front of our fans. That's how I'm looking at it.
That's a pretty way of looking at that is.
So that's why I'm disagreeing.
Okay, I'll tell you. Let me rebuttal what you just said there. To have that moment of winning the last ever Goodison Park derby,
I know
that would override anything of what we're. Oh my god, we get to win the league. I don't know, at Brighton away. Oh, Who fucking cares? You've won the Premier League. But to have that moment, and again, I was thinking about the Newcastle League Cup final, to be fair, because of the PSG game that followed. Because I think it was a massive effect losing the League Cup final to roll into PSG 4 days later. But that Everton goal, mate. Oh God.
I think the sting part of it is more that it was Tarkovsky and not a great talented attacker. He'll never score a goal like that again.
He should have been sent off.
The other with Jag
should have been sent off.
Yeah, he should have been sent off in the game as well.
Yeah, that's also true. Yeah.
The other with Jag Yelker all those years ago when he passed one in the fucking cop end from 30 yards to draw 1-1. It's just, their centre halves are killing me.
Yeah, I think unfortunately, Susie, that is the overriding factor. Yeah, it's going in for 3-3 because he gets another one. Well done. But let's move on. We're not going to spend too much time analysing this game because what is the need to analyse it for? Leagues One. The Palace against here's my thing, boys. I don't think Palace give two craps about the game. I think I think we don't give two. We're probably still coming down off the disco biscuits at this point because there was a lot necked in the last couple of weeks. But I think, and in that sense, this could be almost like a street soccer game. Like just like you have a shot, we'll have a shot. Last man back, next goal wins. Let's do that. Jumpers for goalposts, is it?
I think I should just bring the FA Cup. We'll have the league. Have the league. Then everyone will just be celebrating out of the two cups.
Great.
Give each other a standing ovation.
I'm really into
give each other a guard of honor for both clubs.
Genuinely, I'm into it. I'm really into Liverpool walking out and all the players go, "Way!" With the side and the Palace players walk.
Here's what I think, though. I was thinking this today, lads. See if you agree with me. And I'm not saying this to pat ourselves as a club on the back, as a culture, but I could see like the Palace players coming on and getting a big round of applause from Anfield. Like there's a lot of clubs that not care or boo even, but I think that this will be like, we're both winners. Nothing in riding on this game. Let's all just have a laugh today.
I can tell you from a local fan a little bit here that when Palace come, there's no tragedy chanting. They just chant for their own players. They're just a lovely bunch of group. You know what I mean? And there's a respect element there. I think they'll get a great ovation. By the way, I'm banging to them bringing the FA Cup out at the end.
That'd be great. Yeah,
honestly, I think it'd be great. At the end of the game, genuinely, if they brought the FA Cup out just like that in front of their own fans and then have a little moment again, I am all in on it. I don't care.
Let's see, in terms, just for the funzos of it, in terms of the lineup, Brian, we've been talking about Slot is looking at these past few games as preseason, essentially. He's having like a look at things. Is this a game where he goes, you know what, I'll give Chiesa and Nunes a start, I'll let Trent play right back, or does it just go, I'm going to put the spine of what's going to be next season and then maybe a few of the kids or something?
I think the only player, I think one of the biggest changes you're probably going to see, I think that Kelleher is going to wind up playing. I think that Kelleher right there is going to have a send off right there. I mean, I think it was a rightly deserved send off right there for a player who's actually done well for us. Who's actually and I think that he deserves to have that last moment because he knows he's going. We know he's going, and so just to go there and have that last moment in the limelight and say, hey, because he's figured. Simicast already had his last week. I mean, I think a lot of these other fringe players who are going to go, Harvey had his last week. So a lot of these players right there who know they're going to go have already had that moment right there. Give Kelleher that last moment right there just to go and go there and get applauded off at the cop from the cop and let him come there and go wherever he wants to go to further his career. Because in my opinion right there, he goes with all my blessing right there from what he's done for us. I mean, I think that he deserves to be a number one somewhere.
Yeah, Kazi, what do you think? Any surprises in the lineup?
I like that, to be honest, and I could see that happening. I thought he might go full strength, apart from McAllister, who we said isn't basically just not even here anymore, which I'm kind of into because McAllister's played every game of footy for 3 years. So I'm kind of into that. The Kelleher one, I really like that because I'm kind of into that moment anyway. But sometimes you deserve a respectful way to go and you deserve a moment. So I do like that. I don't expect much, to be honest, gents. I think he'll still go full strength. I think this is a game he wants to win. I think Mo Salah definitely wants to get his goal and his assist, by the way. and I think he's pissed off at himself for what he did against Brighton with the miss. I think he mentioned it in the Gary Neville interview about Luis Diaz missing. He went to set him up and he missed. Like he's getting paid off with that as well. So yeah, I don't think you'll see Trent at all. I'd be surprised if you. I just think you get into that stage where you don't even want him warming up. Don't even get out. You see, by the way, you brought him down to Brighton to bring Endo on his position, which is absolutely wild. Right, that is an absolute stick in the mud. That for people who don't know, Brighton is like a 7-hour coach journey home. I'm sure the lads flew, but my God, it's still on the other side of the country. So yeah, I think Liverpool have to win the game. By the way, I am. I think Liverpool have to win this game. I haven't felt like that with the other 3 games with Chelsea and Arsenal, but I think Liverpool should win this game and just try and win this game all out.
So, see, what do you think? Any surprises, or do you think there'll be a moment like maybe everybody puts all of their efforts into getting Salah those goals and assists, and nothing else really matters at that point?
Yeah, I don't think it's sentimental enough to put Kelleher on. I don't think it's. I mean, if it was Klopp, for sure, but I think it starts a little bit more machine-like. I think he has a players. I don't even think Trent gets on the subs bench. I think, like I said, the line's drawn now. Trent's had his moment, whatever, and this is about us now. So I don't even think Trent gets on the bench. I think other than that, it'll just be like a party game, and we might make some changes at half time, or quicker changes than what he usually does. And yeah, I think it'll just be a great atmosphere. I don't think Palace really care about winning or losing this game. It's our moment, and obviously if we allow them to celebrate the cup in front of our fans as well, I think it'll be great. And Liverpool fans, obviously being a Liverpool fan, sounds biased, but we give respect where it's due. I mean, I was there when we gave Kingswood a standing ovation when they knocked us out the FA Cup, and and that's what we do. We're not classless in that sense. So yeah, it'll be a good game. I'm watching at the Cosm in LA, taking my boys. They can watch Liverpool pick up the trophy and experience what I did. So, yeah, it'll be good.
Let me ask you, boys. Daniel Agger said he's going to be there. Do you think Klopp will make an appearance?
No. I don't think he's that way inclined. I think he'll have like an apartment in town for the cup trophy. Like, I think he'll be in town, but I don't think he'll be anywhere near it. I don't think he wants it to be taken away from the moment. The other managers. I think he's far too placid and not that selfish type
Pep
of
Blinders, on the other hand, might.
Let's throw to book on it. How we won the second Premier League.
Brendan Rodgers might be there.
Honestly, fucking don't. By the way, isn't he just linked with another job in the Championship? Didn't he just like Norwich?
Norwich.
Yeah, he's had a little interview with Norwich, hasn't he? Wow, what's he?
And then, I mean, I don't think anybody cares about the score, so let's move on to the important thing. How emotional are you going to be watching the trophy lift?
Not as emotional, don't think. I was more emotional when we won the league. I couldn't win it properly, to be honest. But there's definitely there'll be something there, but I don't think I'll be anywhere near emotional. I think it's because you prepare for it for 4 weeks. Like, you know what I mean? It is what it is. But it's hard to explain because when the trophy goes above his head and you see, what you ever kind of see with the players. And by the way, players that you'll love. Because we all feel like this could be the last of this squad. I think we all feel a bit like that. You know what I mean? If Kostas goes, and Kostas is kind of coming to butt of the joke sometimes because of his quality on the pitch.
He's the Ringo Starr of the team.
He's the Ringo Starr, but there's a part here, don't make the way he can walk away from his Liverpool career going, well, I scored the winning penalty in an FA Cup final, and I got the assist in a 1-0 win in a League Cup final, and he's for Virgil van Dijk, so he can walk away with things to do. Harvey Elliott the same. Harvey Elliott's a lad who's a Liverpool fan. And if this is his last ever game for Liverpool and he's lifting the league title, I'll be emotional for him because it hasn't worked out. And we all know he's super talented, but he just doesn't fit the system. We all know in a bygone era of Liverpool, he would have been one of Liverpool's best players. I.e. like a Luis Garcia role, by the way. That's what I've got in my head under the Rafa, do you know what I mean? That kind of player. So I'll be emotional for those players as well when they're lifting the trophy. Do you know what I mean? So if it's, Darwin's last time, I'll probably be less emotional. But no, again, Kelleher, big moments, and it's sad that this team is going to break up. I'm sorry to tell fans, but I do believe that this team will break up, and this is the last we'll see.
Oh yeah.
For me, what do you think? Yeah.
For me, right there, this is gonna cap off a good birthday weekend right there. I could go watch this go there, and then turn around and watch a parade on Monday. So fantastic weekend.
How old
Oh
are you?
yeah, happy belated birthday, Macka.
51. I'll be 51 on Saturday.
Come on, hey lad, you can still get a game for us. Jesus.
Hey, I can anytime.
I genuinely reckon if you were a right back, he would have put you on at Brentford. Sorry, at Brighton. He would have put you on over Trent. He would have got the right back.
I'm still hoping I can get over to Manchester and pretend to be Luke Shaw for 90 minutes.
By the way, see him yesterday. I can't believe it. He starts Luke Shaw. Oh, don't. I'm not getting into it. It's going to be a lovely day. It really is going to be.
It's going to be a great day, yeah.
What I want to say, though, Matt, before we go, because I think it's important for all of the fans, listen, embrace this. Live in the moment. Because, my God, next year it all starts again. You're not the champions anymore, in my opinion. When you kick off on day one, you're no longer the champions.
Nope.
So everything's up for grabs again. These are the moments that you live for. These are the moments that you cherish when you tell your grandkids about. These are the moments where were you when Liverpool lifted the title again? Do you know what I mean? That live in the moment, enjoy it, take it all in, watch every single video online, watch it all until you're bored out your skin. Because my God, when it goes quick. It'll be a quick summer. Listen, mate, as soon as I think it's June the 1st, it's and transfer market opens, it'll all be forgotten about. So live in the moment and enjoy it.
And I just want to point out, as an old timer, that that's exactly how we felt about 2001, because we didn't know when we were going to win another European trophy. So that treble DVD got a lot of watching.
I was told in 1990 when we won the league title the last time that they all basically just shook hands at the end of it. And everyone had a pint in town, 2-3 pints, and went to bed because Liverpool was just used to winning the league title. So you don't know when it genuinely. Right? That's what I was told when I was growing up. That's what happened when Liverpool won the league title last time, because we were so. You didn't know it was going to take 30 years to win the next. You don't know when it comes around again.
I just want to add to that. It's a great story. It's a very short story. Is that there was one time Liverpool won the league, and Joe Fagan, when he was one of the assistant coaches, came in and threw a box of medals on the table and said, "There you go, pick whatever one you want. They're not worth anything next year."
I think he said,
running around.
take one if you think you've earned one.
If you've earned one, that's right.
Take one if you think you've earned one. I think it was Ronnie Banan threw the box on the
table. That's the one.
And he said, take one if you think you'd earned one. Like that.
I think you had to play like 13 matches that season.
That is a fucking power move, isn't it? That is a power move. That's how immune it is. But again, we didn't know it was going to take 30 years last time. It could take another 30 years. We hope it doesn't, but it could. So let's enjoy it and let them really live in it, because honestly, it's going to go so quickly.
2-5.
Oh baby. I think. By the way, I do think we'll win it next year. But yeah, you never know.
Yeah. What I was going to say. Now I have remembered the thing I was trying to remember from the last time. It's Arnie Slot is not so in your face. I think if you listen to his interviews, he'll say something to a reporter, and the reporter will laugh along. And I bet that reporter leaves that conference room and goes, "Arnie Slot's really funny." Hang on, that was an insult. And then tries to run back in.
Yeah, I'm the butt of the joke. Yeah.
So with that said, big thanks to the lads as always, and to everybody who commented and liked and loved on all of the things. But if you want to make sure you know when everything's happening, then you got to keep doing that. Subscribe, hit that bell on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook and on Instagram and on X and on Blue Sky and all those other things. I don't know what they're called anymore because I'm too old. Nearly pensionable because you know May babies are the best ones, Brian. We both know that May babies are the best ones.
Absolutely.
But we're also the oldest.
Before we go, and we should wrap this up very quickly. I had a stat today. Steven Gerrard was 24 when Liverpool won the Champions League in 2005, and that's the same age as Curtis Jones.
There you go.
And that
20 years ago.
Because Steven Gerrard felt like such a figure. Like, oh my
crazy.
God. He's the same age as Curtis Jones is now. Unbelievable.
Which means he's 2021 when he won the treble.
Yeah. And he played 60-odd games that season, I think.
And to be fair, he also looked like he was 44 when he was 21 as well. The oldest looking young player from the academy ever.
We can comment on this. Best hairline of football, isn't it? It hasn't gone anywhere.
Yeah,
it hasn't moved.
And he hasn't had to go to Turkey to get it fixed either.
Listen, fella, he's been to Dubai enough. I'm sure they could have boxed it off. But my God, amazing.
And that's us saying that as well. Us on this show. Us four. So with that said, make sure you watch the coffee show tomorrow morning and keep an eye out for news of pre-match and possibly watch along. But I believe we're thinking of not having the post-match so we can all enjoy the festivities at the end of the game. And who wouldn't want to enjoy that? Even I have the day off. That's an amazing thing.
Yeah.
But we will see everybody next week for our post-season Thursday night podcast. Have a good one. Enjoy the weekend. Stay safe.
Cheers, guys.
Peace out. And here is the funky music.